Welcome to the Method. Today we have a brief and frank discussion with Sam Mitchell about his life with autism. Sam's just 17, yet runs a hugely successful podcast exploring his life with autism, called Autism Rocks and Rolls. The podcast uses interesting analogies to make it more enlightening for people who might not understand. I could particularly recommend episode 111, the pinball episode. Well, here we go.
The method, we're eating or sleeping or fight. The method, for marriage or divorce or one night. Well, I know you probably think that it sounds pretty dumb, but the methods you use to get shit done. If you're chatting up a lover, you're going on a run, then it might be wise to heed the words of a pro with a little bit of help. Who knows, to get some happiness out of your woes, to get promoted to CEO of a happy mind inside your head. You don't want to wake up dead, thinking why'd you work so hard for things that hardly work for you. The method works.
Okay, so first off, I would just like to express my admiration for what it is that you're doing with your podcast, because one of the reasons that I really wanted to do this one was because my younger brother is also autistic, and he's definitely, well, he has, and the family definitely has struggled for just to get the support and the information that you seem to be putting out on your podcast, the direct experience from being autistic. So I just really want to say that, it's great what you're doing with your podcast.
Thank you.
No problem. So I guess if for people who don't really understand maybe what autism is, could you give us a brief overview of your experience of autism?
Sure. Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder, and it's where we struggle on social cues, some basic life skills, and other uniquely situations.
Right. So how has it affected you directly?
It has affected me because I still struggle with some of the things that autistic people struggle with, usually typically, and some stuff are probably going to be a lifelong term goal.
Sure. So what are some of the most debilitating aspects of it for you, and how did you go about beginning to try and improve on them?
Do you want to know what they are or how I improved on them?
Both.
Got it. So some stuff is I don't bend easily. I don't like to bend at all. I think it's dumb. I think bending's stupid. It's plan A or don't do it. I think bending is dumb. So I always think of my way or the highway. And then honesty versus bluntness. I'm too blunt sometimes. I'm too tell the truth too often. Then I have anxiety really bad. I anticipate a lot. What else? And I watch Scooby-Doo, so that was an episode over it.
Right. I can connect with you on the anxiety side of things. I have quite a lot of anxiety too. It's definitely quite a big challenge.
It is. It definitely is.
What are some of the methods that you use then to overcome your anxiety about things?
I take medicine for it.
That works. So I checked out some of the episodes on your podcast, and I thought it would be cool to sort of talk through some of them.
Sure.
The one I found particularly interesting was dealing with change, because that's a big one for my brother. Is any change of routine, change of circumstances, small changes throughout the day, they can be really difficult for him. So
there's a story with that one.
Yeah, would you like to tell it?
Yep, I'm going to. So what happened was I was originally going to do a different episode with it. It wasn't going to be daily change. It was going to be over some sensory problems. Somehow, I don't know how, but somehow I just got over it and it was gone. Like it deleted. And then I started having really bad anxiety. Then in that moment of the anxiety attack, I thought, wait a minute, this is not the moment right here. So that led to daily changes. You expected the expected.
Yeah, for sure.
How difficult is it for you to sort of like embrace things just as they come? Is it easier to embrace something you haven't anticipated, or is it easier to build up to something over a long period of time?
Not really.
I mean, change is not easy for him. I have to say, as his mother, he's better as he's gotten older. But that was, you talked about like debilitation. That was when he was younger. When he was younger, it was debilitating. Like I couldn't, I'm a teacher. So after school, I would say, hey, we need to run to the store. And he would be like, you didn't tell me that.
I'm still like that. Like, I get mad when you don't tell me.
Yeah, he's still like that, but he's mature enough now where he can be like,
fine.
Well, are you serious? Like you didn't tell me. But before it was almost like he physically couldn't. And so it was tough when he was younger.
Sure. So do you think that just kind of doing it more and more has helped? So, going to the store more and more and, figuring out systems of how to make it easier? Yeah,
I mean, I honestly believe in raising him, and, even people that are on the spectrum are all different. I mean, even if you have two people diagnosed with Asperger's disorder, they could be very, very different people. But from our experience, Sam is so high functioning that what I realized early on was I understand that this is hard for you, but instead of saying you can't do it, because I know that he's capable, he does have limitations, but what I would always tell him is I understand that it's hard for you, but I'm sorry, like you have to. So we still have to figure out how you can do it. So that's kind of what we've done with him, is not let him say, well, I can't, I'm autistic. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that, when you were born, that's how your brain was wired. We can't control that. But what we can do is move forward and help you cope and give you resources and give you strategies. And, that's what we've always done. So it's not that we've been like mean or anything, but it's been kind of a firmness along the way, but also let's get to the other side instead of, giving up. So that's what we've done.
Yeah, I think it was quite a similar situation for my family, in that we just had to sort of accept that it is what it is, and try not to get frustrated at it or angry at it or it wasn't there, and just try to slowly sort of push the barriers and widen the comfort zone when you can, but not too much, because that can also lead to some other problems.
Yeah, well, you said it is what it is, and I would even go further than that. And with Sam,
you'd say, okay,
I think that it's a beautiful thing. Did I always think that? No. When he was diagnosed, I went through a phase where, like during my pregnancy, I did everything right. I didn't do anything that I wasn't supposed to do. I took care of myself. I exercised. I ate well, and I did everything. And so I went through a phase where I was very sad, because I thought, why in the world? Like, this is going to sound really harsh, and Sam has heard me say this before, but I even went through a phase when he was very little, like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't agree. I didn't agree to raise an autistic child. But that was very short-lived, and when I learned more about it, it was easier. But I would even go as far as to say, to embrace it, like you said, but just for people to understand that Sam has autism, but I have things too. And he has to use resources, and I have to use resources. I have a learning disability in math.
Yeah, you don't do math.
No, I can't do math. I have to use a calculator.
Me too. That's where we get the same English from.
So that's my resource. And so I would even go as far as to say he is no different.
No, we're not different.
No different than anybody that has to use resources to help
yeah,
themselves.
we need our resources. But are you saying different from you or different from me? Or are you saying different, like we're a lot alike?
Well, I'm just saying that everybody is different.
Oh.
You're not different than any more than I'm different.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought you said you were comparing us to. I thought we are a lot alike.
We are a lot of like personality guys. That's why we bump heads sometimes. But I don't know if that makes any sense. It's almost like early on in his life, it was almost like a negativity and a negative picture painted of autism. But now it's more like it is what it is. But even beyond that, it just is. And Sam is Sam. And that's what we've always taught him, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Like, for me as a musician, and a lot of my friends as musicians, we can't work unless we're in like the exact right place, and like there's no outside distractions. It's all got to be perfect, and like spend days cleaning up the studio here before I can actually get any work done, because it needs to be the right headspace to achieve what I want to achieve.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in society around the world, I know you guys are in the UK, we're in the USA.
God bless America.
but
And all hail the Queen to you guys.
Right on.
Woo! But at the same time, it's like there is such a stereotypical normal. Like, I don't know who gets to decide who's normal. I know I'm not.
I'm not. I'm cuckoo.
But we're who we are. But I guess if that makes sense, like, there is no normal. I don't know who gets to choose that. You know what I mean?
No one does. Whoever does, that's an idiot.
Well, I don't know about that, but I guess I just think there's no normal.
There isn't.
Sam's Sam, and Sam's
I'll act how I want to.
normal. So yeah. Anyway.
I guess we all have, traits that make it more difficult for us, but
You have a trait that makes you you.
yeah, and we also have traits that, we're proud of or that we wouldn't trade. Like, are there parts, Sam, of yourself that maybe even linked to the autism that you just love, or like that really define you? Because obviously you've got like a pretty cutting sense of humor, which is great, because you were saying that you struggle with being blunt, and I think that adds to like your favor when you're being funny.
It is. Sometimes I'm too blunt. That's funny.
What other things do you have?
Creativity.
Yeah.
Very creative. I'll think of podcast episodes that you may not even think. I wouldn't even think about.
Nice.
Like, you didn't think of that one, did you?
Yeah, his creativity is off the charts. When he told me that he was going to do a podcast about pinball, I was like, huh.
Okay.
This is about autism, and okay, like, let's see where this goes. And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The way that he linked that ball in a pinball machine, like going back and forth, that's how he feels sometimes. And when he did that analogy, I was blown away.
And I have some other skills. Well, I'm a big fan of wrestling.
Okay.
And this is going to be hard to believe, but I could tell you the main event, a little bit of the backstories from, because there's only 36 WrestleManias. So 1 to 36, if you give me a WrestleMania main event, I could tell you the main event and what happened.
Yeah, like give him 1 to 36. Give him like 4 or 5 in a row. Give him any number.
Wow.
27.
What number now? I'm sorry.
27.
27, is that what you said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. John Cena versus The Miz for the championship. The Rock sneaks in, hits a rock bottom. The Miz hits him, pins him for 1, 2, 3, and everyone gets robbed.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That was instant.
And you?
4.
4. Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase. There was a tournament for the World Heavyweight Championship, and sure enough, Hogan hits Ted DiBiase with the back with a steel chair. Randy drops an elbow. New champion. Everyone celebrates.
31.
31. Oh, that's the heist of the century. Brock versus Roman Reigns. Roman spears Brock. And sure enough, here comes Seth Rollins. He cashes him in, hits the stomp. Heist of the century, bro.
1 more. 11.
11. Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor. I think Lawrence hits him with the forearm and pins him, and everyone celebrates.
Jesus. Wow. That's some talent.
Oh, here's something else. Would you believe I could say the alphabet backwards?
How fluidly?
Pretty fluidly.
Go on then. Hit us with it.
Oh, here we go. DCBA.
Nice.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, one of the
Fluids.
when I was preparing for this, one of the questions I wrote down was, or one of the things I wanted to talk about was that there are quite a few stories of people with autism who are like, they're labeled as autistic, but they're also labeled as geniuses. And they've been able to sort of harness their effects of autism and, channel it into something really positive and effective. And there's loads of scientists and inventors and creatives that are all able to use their autism for something good. And I noticed on your podcast that you'd have a few guests on. Were any of them those sort of people? Had they been able to use their autism for good?
Yes, we have. So the guest I've had so far is let me think. I've had her. I had my parents on, of course. Then I've had a man named Abe Shapiro. He is autistic as well, but he is the leader of the Neurodiversity Coalition at our Indiana University.
Right, yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yep, and then we have Armani Williams, who is the first openly autistic NASCAR driver.
Oh.
Who actually says he's so hyper-focused in the car that autism actually benefits him.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And then at Simon Majumdar, he is playing. He's an advocate for autism because his nephew is. And he's like on Cutthroat Kitchen, Guys Grocery Games.
And he's from England.
All right.
Simon Majumdar, yeah.
Maybe we could talk to him at some point.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Do you think it would be helpful if more people were like aware of exactly how autism affects people and to, I don't know, not generalize when they're talking about people with autism and not to be, I don't know, worried about doing the wrong thing?
Okay, sure. Oh, yeah, I agree with you if you're asking that. I think that would be more helpful and more beneficial to us. So, yes, to answer your question.
Yeah, I think knowledge is power. I mean, you have to educate people and in all different forms. And so I'm glad that you asked that, because that's like a perfect way to put kind of what Sam's mission is, I feel like, because, you know, I've asked him, what do you want to get from this podcast? How are you trying to change things? What's your mission here? And that's what you said, is he just wants people to look at him as Sam, but also understand that he does have autism and that he might have limitations like we all do, but let him use autism to define himself the way he wants to. That if he wants to put autism first in a conversation, then that's his right to do that. He should be comfortable with having autism. But if he's in a situation where he's like, I don't really want to talk about my autism, he should have that right, you know, just to be Sam. So I'm glad that you said that, because that's it. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah, and we live in a world that accommodates a lot of necessarily accommodate struggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sam he's always had accommodations from a very young age. He was diagnosed when he was 4, and he's always been involved. I told him he had autism, like kind of in like a solid conversation when he was 5 or 6. And it actually helped. You know, I know people that don't tell them until they're like teenagers, and I personally find that kind of crazy, because
I think that's wrong.
He just needed to know.
I think we need to know.
But it's each family's decision, and it kind of depends on what's happening. But yeah, he's always had resources, and I mean, I've always made sure I'm a teacher. I have been for 15 years, so I know what the special education laws are. And
well, you support special ed too.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But I've just always made sure, and he's never been ashamed of his resources. Never. He's never been taught to, you know, be embarrassed. Like, I have to go get this test read to me. Doesn't matter. Like, use your resource. You want to be successful. So, you know, so he's always had resources, and he's always used them.
One of the sort of the main issues in my brother's upbringing, he's nearly 19 now, he's 18. But when he was going through high school, they never really had any sort of system or framework to help people in his position. So a lot of what he struggled with was he just never fit in classes, and, you know, he couldn't understand half the time what the teachers were saying and stuff like that. So have you had a different experience to that, or has that been similar for you?
General has been, with resources, I think it's been good for the most part. I think some stuff are not easy, but some, like algebra, some stuff with algebra, it's going to be a no. You can tell me all you want, but it's still going to be a no.
Yeah.
Some stuff, science, chemistry, that's going to be a no. I don't care what y'all say, it ain't going to happen.
I think that's the same for anyone, though. There are things that people just can't really, you know, get in their head. So like
very rare for someone to be good at, all 4 core subjects in school. So, but he would always say, I always fought for general ed for him. I'm not 100% sure about your brother, but at a very early age, Sam really struggled in preschool. He struggled, and there was always talk of maybe Sam should go into like the resource room full time. And that was not going to happen under my watch because he was capable. I just knew he needed the resources. So we fought very hard for a while until I finally realized she's not gonna be quiet about this.
Yeah, she's not gonna be quiet. I mean, trust me, I've dealt with that for a long time too.
So anyway, he's always done that. But I'm sure there's times that you don't understand something and you have to go get help, right? Yeah.
It seems like because there's such a wide and large spectrum of autism, and obviously a lot of people deal with it in lots of different ways, and lots of people have different experiences with it. It can sometimes be hard to actually label which parts of your personality are autism and which parts of it aren't, and then how to differentiate between them and sort of think, if you might label something as autism that isn't, and then deal with it in the wrong way, and then it can get quite confusing, or at least it did for us.
Absolutely. From a parent standpoint, I'm sure that there were times where I thought, you know what, you're being I'm
not being autism, but you're being a turd.
Yeah, you're being a brat right now, and you're being a complete turd, and we're done. And I've punished him, or maybe he's, there was a consequence or something. But again, I think all parents do that. Autism or no autism.
You lose your crap.
You lose your temper, or you handle a situation one way, and then you go back and think, I really wish I would have handled it that way. I think that's just, very common. But there were times where I was like, I don't know what to do. Do I tell him to stop, or
do you help me,
or can he not? So I still struggle with that sometimes. He's 18 years old, and I still am like, Sam, seriously, but maybe he's struggling with something. So I understand. I hear you.
It's a very difficult situation, especially from a parent's perspective or a carer's perspective. It's really hard to like you say, figure out what is and isn't autism, and that's definitely a big challenge.
Absolutely, it probably always will be. I think that Sam, with his resources, one day will be able to survive on his own. I believe that. He believes that. It might just take a little longer to get there. Sam has his driver's license, but he's just not ready to drive on his own yet. So he does drive with us. But, and again, it's all circumstantial with everybody. But even now, I question sometimes, are you acting like this because you're just, think you know everything right now? Or are you really struggling with something? And it's tough.
Well, teenagehood, specifically the later years of teenagehood, are always difficult for everybody emotionally and socially, and you're going to be challenging your parents regardless. So it will be difficult for you to decipher that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I would say 70-80% of the time he was just being a teenager. Luckily he's a very good kid. He really is a good kid, because I've taught for a long time, and there's some that aren't good. And so I've seen it, but he's very good. So luckily we've had to deal with very little, but we definitely had our moments.
I have wondered about, so Sam, you don't necessarily give off many sort of physical traits of being autistic, and whether you meet people and you maybe are struggling with something and they assume that it's down to a bad trait and maybe judge you wrongly, and how that can be combated.
Well, to answer your question, I understand. If they're rude about it, and I was like, meh, whatever. I just don't care. And then if you like me, great. Let's learn about it and be nice and be kind and caring about all that stuff. But if you don't, that's your problem. That's a you problem. It's not a me problem, bro. I really don't care. I'm like, I used to care, but not anymore.
Well, that's a good attitude. I think everybody can take that on in their life.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had people before. I always tell this story. We just told this story last night. And when I look back on it, I don't believe that the lady was being rude.
No, I don't think she's
It
being
didn't
rude at
come from
all.
a rude part of her, but at first it was like, whoa, I can't believe she just said that. But a couple of years ago, I wanted Sam to really start like paying for his own stuff. Like when we went to the store, I want you to get your wallet out. I want you to like pay, understand the change process. And so I would kind of be there, but I was not going to help him. And so he started to do it and fumbled and just got nervous and kept like looking at me. And I'm like, you know how to do this. Like, you can do it. And so the lady tapped me on the shoulder. It's an older lady. And
Not tapped you. She kind of said it out loud.
Oh, okay. Well, she said, does he have a brain injury? And I just kind of shook my head. And at first I was like, why would you do that? Like, that is so offensive and so rude. Like, why does that even matter right now? But then very quickly, my mind switched to like, okay, teachable moment here. Like, I can tell her, like, no. And I said, he has autism and he's trying really hard. And I know that he can do this. And so
she was like, okay.
Yeah. And then we had a conversation about autism. She really wasn't familiar with it. So I was like, just use it as a moment to educate somebody about it.
Nice.
So as a parent, a lot of with the ways you've tried to deal with it, is that something that you've kind of had to just learn yourself and try yourself, or have you had like support from
I've had support, but I've also am the type of guy like, let's figure this out on my own first, and then let's ask for help. I'm the type of guy who's like, let's get help when I need it, because I'm going to help with the test, of course, but to figure something out like life, I'm like, let me try first. Back off, just let's see if I can do it before you hop in.
Nice.
Yeah, it's always been important to us and I'm sure there's times where we didn't, but I mean,
There are times you still don't.
Yeah, I'm trying very hard just to back off and, let him. But to answer the question, though, as far as how we kind of educated ourselves, I had been teaching. It was really kind of crazy. There were two kids in my class that had autism when Sam was being diagnosed. And I had one young man in my class. He was in high school. And I'd known him for a week or two. And I kept looking at him like, who does he remind me of? He reminds me of somebody I know, and it ended up being Sam. I realized like this child reminds me of Sam. So through kind of a little bit of experience and then reading books and talking to people, we definitely figured it out that way. But there's no manual. There is no manual to raise children or raise there's not a book that says, how to raise a child.
They're giving you advice, but you're still going to do it on your own.
Yeah. So we figured out things.
There's no manual how to raise your own child.
Right. We figured out things that worked out for him that maybe didn't, work for anybody else. I've talked to other parents that have raised their children with autism and, maybe they were more lenient. Maybe they, there was someone that I know, they just they raised their child as having a disability. And I didn't do that. Sam, does he have autism? Yes, but he isn't any more disabled than I am with something that I can't do. So that's how we've always kind of looked at it. But I guess to answer your question, we did rely on the literature. We did rely on the experts, but I am sure along the way, we had to think about it and figure it out on our own for sure.
Yeah. Something you said then just sort of clicked with me there. But my mum used to have these meetings with people and stuff, and she met a lot of people who were maybe raising, obviously it's not our place to question the way people raise their children, of course, but she met a lot of people where they were maybe raising their kids who had autism with like too light of a touch, maybe like too much empathy, and they gave them this label, and they treated them sort of with not enough, not enough routine, not enough discipline, and they would kind of just, like fairy around them. They wouldn't treat them like a normal kid, and I feel like that would in a lot of cases, maybe be a more negative outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. But then I also think it's such a fine line, because there were times that I had to be soft and I had to be, he's really struggling with this. Luckily, my husband and I have been on the same page most of the time, but with any child, I can remember times where I would be like, you know what, you need to like back off and let him kind of settle down before we try to talk to him. But or it could be vice versa. I would be the one that's like, we're going to figure this out right now. So,
me.
Absolutely. You have to have, for Sam, it was a balance of
either I'm not going to procrastinate something that's going to happen in like 5 minutes. That's not my style.
Yeah. I mean,
I like to talk about it now and then instead of wait for a time to talk about it later and just procrastinate an argument.
Yeah. And then that can be an issue too, because it's almost like, okay, Sam, we're talking about something that's going to happen in like 9 months.
I'm not going to wait for my nuts though.
See, like that's
stupid.
Okay. But that's like what we have to, like, I have to pick and choose the battles. Like, okay, I'm telling you, like maybe some parent would say, okay, let's sit down and talk for 2 hours about something that's going to happen 9 months out. But I'm not going to do that. Like I'm going to say to him, that's not reasonable. So I'm done, like talking about it. So you can go talk to a wall, or you can go talk to yourself or whatever, but I'm personally done. And he understands that.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk to a wall, but
well, whatever you have to do.
Sam, how many of your friends struggle with autism?
Let me count. Let's see. I have gotta think here for a minute. Off the top of my head, at least 3.
Cool.
Probably more than that, but if I had to guess, probably 3.
And like, do they help you at all? Do you get to like get advice from them, or are they giving sort of like?
No, I help.
Oh, you help them.
I help them. Yeah.
Oh,
Some
nice.
people help me, but I help I help them.
Oh, nice.
They're somewhat a little on the spectrum. The 3 that he's talking about. So, yeah, I can see, but I'm sure that along the way they've all helped each other in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and when you're socializing with those 3 guys or any other people with autism, how does that differ to when you're socializing with people without autism?
Well, someone with autism, as I've learned, depending on the level on the spectrum, is you just gotta push it out of them, I guess. You gotta like get it out of their head, like word it nicely and word it softly, and they'll probably tell you. And someone with autism, they have other, I think, issues, or they get me, so I can just be myself.
Yeah. Do you think that having friends with autism and who have similar experiences has helped you to be able to accept yourself more?
I would say probably and highly likely, but I couldn't answer that. I'm not for sure.
Yeah, fair enough.
I can imagine you're all quite direct with each other, because you say you suffer with, well, not suffer, but you're very blunt. Is it that when you're all together, you're all very blunt with each other?
No, I'm not blunter to those 3. I hurt their feelings, I think.
Oh, yeah?
I think to the others, yes.
Yeah.
Who are you blunt to?
Do you need to know? With those 5, Brent, Andy.
Oh, with his friends. What about family-wise? Who are you blunt with?
Oh, you, easily.
Yeah. So it's...
And Megan.
Yeah, we have a really good family friend, Megan. She's, like my...
And
sister.
my family, a lot of...
Yeah, but he's...
pretty much all my family.
He's pretty much blunt with people that he's very comfortable with. And so... but I'm pretty blunt, too. So a lot of times my husband will say, yeah, he might be autistic, but he probably was going to be blunt anyway. Like, it was probably going to happen because we're a pretty blunt family.
Well, not Dad's not as much. I mean...
Yeah, but you have family members, but yeah, I mean, I've kind of taught him to be that way. And as long as he's respectful and as long as he doesn't hurt people's feelings and he cares about people, then there's nothing wrong. with, speaking your mind in a respectful way. So
That's the issue that I don't want to speak in a respectful way.
sometimes he struggles with, how do I say this? So
There's nothing wrong necessarily with being very blunt and to the point. But like you say, as long as it's in a way that isn't going to be disrespectful, I suppose. So what sort of what do you hope your future looks like, Sam? Have you got a list of goals that you're working towards? Have you got you said you're creative? Have you got things that you're working on there?
Yeah, so I plan on going to Ivy Tech after high school to get my general ed classes done, then transfer to Vincennes or either this or travel agency or tourism.
Oh, nice. Have you done much traveling?
I do some traveling, actually. I've been to Texas, Florida, Ohio, Tennessee, Kentucky. Where else have I been? Washington, D.C., Mississippi.
Georgia.
Well,
We drove through Georgia.
Well, we didn't visit there.
Texas.
I already said Texas.
Yeah, he's been to a lot of states.
Like down south, though. I'm not a big northern guy because here's my point. Why would I freeze my butt off? And I don't travel the country because I'm afraid I think I'd break their rules and not notice. Like right now, I break the law in UK. That's probably legal here in America.
Yeah, his dad.
That's the one thing we're a lot.
He doesn't. They don't really like to travel outside the country. I've been outside the country 2 or 3 times, and I enjoy it. But I guess it's just opposite.
It just makes me scared.
Okay.
I mean, flying, I think, is scary for anyone.
It's not flying. It's just like going there and being like, oh, if I break this law, well, I'm going to jail. What?
That would happen here too, though.
But I mean, like, what's legal in the UK is probably legal in the United States.
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
What's legal in the UK that's legal here in the United States?
What's illegal in the UK that's legal in the United States? Well, we can't. We have. I don't know. No, we don't have any marijuana here. Not legally.
But I mean, like a basic law. If they ban blue jeans, I don't wear blue jeans. I'm just making an example here.
Well, he just gave you an example with marijuana.
Yeah.
In Colorado.
But I don't smoke marijuana.
Yes,
that's the difference.
That's
Yeah, you can't be walking down the street here because then you will go. You'll be told off.
Yeah, we have several states here. They have dispensaries, and you can just like go get it, and it's not even for medicinal purposes. It's recreational.
But that's why. Plus, I just get scared.
Yeah, I gotcha. You're allowed to think that.
And I say cold, so that's why.
Great. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Not really. Anything you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I would just say, just what I always try to say is with Sam's mission, like, again, his mission, I would say that he and his friends, Armani Williams, that is the NASCAR driver, and the young man, Abe Shapiro, that runs the diversity, the coalition at Indiana University, and then Sam. They're all changing the world a little bit at a time because of what they're trying to get people to understand. Maybe not even just about autism. I mean, he has people listen to his podcast that suffer from anxiety, that suffer from
self-confidence, or dealing with someone with autism, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, or a communication disorder. I mean, he has found that he has reached, he has teachers in Southern Indiana that are using it in the classroom. So that's awesome that he's that.
What about the Hey? We've had that one too. Remember? We had someone for Hey. There's an autism mother.
Yeah. Like through another business that my husband runs, we met a lady that had a son with autism.
It was a daughter.
Or a daughter with autism, and we were like, hey, you should listen to this podcast. So it's just all of these people that he's reaching. So that's what he's trying to do. But he does have a website, autismrocksandrolls.com. And this website shows, you can follow his journey, his story. He has merchandise now.
Yeah, we have some autism COVID masks and some autism awareness paracord bracelets.
Yeah, like autism awareness, really thick bracelets that are really cool. We'll have t-shirts soon. And then, you can find his podcast on about everywhere. Like, where is it?
All right. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube, LinkedIn,
Podbean.
definitely.
So
that's the homebound.
And it's on Spreaker now too. So
Spreaker, I can't even say.
So
that.
we have that. So we just he's not really monetized a lot. I mean, he's made a little bit of money, but that's not his goal. His goal
it was the hell. That's why I started this whole thing. It was never for money or fame.
Yeah. So just the education part of it. So
it's not the education; it's the helpful part.
Yeah.
But never money. I never wanted any money.
Right. So
I suppose it would be nice. I mean, I never wanted it.
Yeah. So anyway, just if people want to get out and check out his stuff, that'd be great.
Well, Sam, you're hilarious, and your memory is impeccable, and
Thank you.
I commend you on that.
Thank you.
It's been lovely speaking to you.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Yeah, I think it's really great what you're doing, and definitely keep it up. I'm definitely going to send your podcast to my brother. I think it'll really help.
Sweet. Thank you.